What's going on? In this video, I'm going to break down the 5 biggest mistakes that I've made over the last year in reflecting on kind of the areas where I am not where I want to be. And this video is going to be for honestly anyone wanting to improve 2026, but I'm going to share some actual tools at the end of this for how you can reflect and kind of figure out how do I set myself up for any future period of time, whether it's the new year, whether it's a quarter, whether it's a week or day, to get really clear on how it is that you want to show up. And if you're not sure who I am, totally fair, just a random dude on YouTube. And so I work with men specifically in the Star Wars niche. For a little bit of context, basically help them with their health and fitness using gamification and helping them tap into a alter ego identity. You can see one of the guys here has got a trooper helmet. So context on me, this is from a health and fitness angle, but let's just dive into this because I think this is going to be really helpful for you watching, because I got feedback from clients that I've shared with this one-on-one that they're like, man, this is really helpful. So let's go into the first one. First mistake. I spent a lot of time and a lot of money on cards, baseball cards, more specifically Pokemon cards. And so here's why this is a big mistake, because initially I used it as a justification of, oh, this is my ability to relax. This is a fun hobby. I get to do this with a good friend of mine. And what started off with, some packs turned into some $10 cards, to some $50 cards, some $100 cards, some $1,000 cards, right? And so obviously there's the financial impact there. And just 2 days ago, I sold everything that I bought over the course of a year. And so that is an example of a distraction, not just a distraction like time wise. And I'll get into that in a second, but a distraction when I really reflect on it of, I don't like how I'm feeling. Let me distract myself with something. So let's say I had a bad day at work, didn't hit targets, or, got some bad feedback. I'd be like, oh, let me see what's on eBay, or let me, scroll on Instagram and find an account that, hits that dopamine of card collecting. And so it became this kind of distraction where all of a sudden I would find myself, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. And I'm spending so much time trying to sedate a feeling that I didn't like. And so for some people, that is online shopping. For some people, that's gambling. For some people, that is, porn. It could be alcohol, it could be smoking, whatever it is. But what I realized also, wow, this is such a opportunity cost killer, because all of the time that I spent, and I justified it as like, oh, these are going to be investments, these are going to go up, which is not true. You cannot just liquidate your entire portfolio and think that you're going to get the exact dollar that it shows, like you would the stock market, which is a lot more liquid. The thing that I realized, though, is like, man, I'm spending all this time, all this money to maybe make 4 figures. If I waited longer, sure, maybe it's a little bit more. But it's like, had I allocated those probably 100 hours to something, I don't know, my business, my family, hobbies that actually I cared about, I would be so much further along. And this is, I think, one of the biggest traps that people get into is they don't look at, and this, I'm speaking of myself here, look at the opportunity cost of what not ascending looks like, right? And like a good example of this, I'll talk to thousands of people on, improving their health. And they're like, oh yeah, like I want to improve my health, but maybe it's not in the budget, or it's not the right time, or whatever it is. But the opportunity cost of not being in the best shape of your life could lead to not getting promoted, because there's a ton of data that shows how you present yourself leads to different opportunities, or just having more energy to produce more, or having more time because you have more energy to develop your skills. And so the opportunity cost of not being in shape is, oh, I don't go on the hike when I go to Hawaii, or I don't, get the promotion as a member in the military because I don't look the next rank, right? Those are like really specific examples that I'll see. And so really ask yourself, okay, I'm doing this activity and I'm justifying it as X, but if I allocated this time and this energy and this money to something that actually is going to move the needle, how much further along would I be? And so now I can look back and like, man, lost a few thousand on, selling cards, whatever. That loss of 3,000 dwarfs in comparison to the productivity if I just put my attention and energy and focus in something that actually matters. And so that is my first mistake, is getting wrapped up and telling myself for a little under a year, oh, this is a hobby, this is an investment. But in reality, it was just a distraction, and it was a feel good dopamine rush for, clicking and buying and getting something on eBay. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, cool. I actually don't care about this. And I felt nothing as I watched everything sell. If anything, I have this sense of relief that I no longer have this hanging over my head. So that's the first one. Second one is this story that I was telling myself of like, oh, you're good enough, right? Like new dad, we got a second kid on the way. Obviously I'm a health and fitness coach, run a business honestly the last 8 years now. So it's like I've been doing this for a while. And I went and got a DEXA scan. I got a video on my channel. If you're not familiar with that, it looks at your body fat percentage, your visceral fat, your bone mineral density. Highly recommend that for literally everyone, because most people don't have data on those numbers. And honestly, your body fat percentage is much more of an important indicator than your BMI. Side note there. The thing that it came back as is, hey, you're 14.6% body fat, which is, a good place to stay at and maintain for a lot of people. My metabolic age was 26. I'm 34. So I was like, oh, sweet. Metabolically, I'm 26. The score that it gave me was an A+. I was like, okay, cool. I'm good. That was back in the summer. And it kind of just led to me being like, oh, like I'm good. Like I'm good enough. I don't need to push myself. I don't need to hold myself to a higher standard. And what it kind of did is it allowed this thought of, oh, like you can have that food. You can sleep in. You can skip the workout. And just this belief of it's not that bad, or I'm good enough. I think it's one of the most insidious things of a thought, because what it does is it causes you to trade your dreams and what your potential is for just good enough. Like imagine having this trade with someone and they're like, hey, I'm going to give you something that's a B because you're doing pretty good. So take this B, don't worry about that A. And so for the last like 5 months, I've been kind of recognizing like, man, like I really want to push myself. And what I initially did is I hired a coach to help me in the strength performance area. I wanted to get a 300-pound bench. It turned out to be a terrible experience, which honestly was the best thing ever, because I now learned what holes I want to fix in my business to make sure that no one ever runs into what I ran into again. But the big thing here is just, again, allowing this, oh, it's good enough. I can get away with it. This belief that I don't need to push myself or have something that is holding me to a higher standard, because truly, if I could snap my fingers, I want to be that higher standard. I want to have a slightly leaner body composition. I want to be stronger. I want to feel like I am on my mental edge, because that's when I'm chasing and pursuing my potential. And that's something that's really important to me. But again, I've kind of allowed myself to be like, take the day off. Why don't you just, eat, whatever you want. Don't worry about it. And I'm not out of shape. I'm probably 14% body fat now, but I've wanted to for a really long time to get down to like 12 or 11. And so now I've instituted things like average 12,000 steps a day. There's a couple other tasks or things that I'm going to talk about later in this video that I'm also instituting, but it's just raising that standard and continuing to keep those standards high and not falling for, oh, it's good enough. It's not that bad. It's not that bad is honestly a sign that it is that bad, because you're having to tell yourself a story that it isn't that bad to not face the facts that it actually is that bad. One last quick tip I'll give you with that. If you find yourself saying it's not that bad or it's good enough, get around people 2 or 3 levels above you, and you're going to quickly realize how much you negotiate with mediocrity. Next one, this is the third one, shiny object syndrome, right? In the health and fitness space, this might be changing your diet every few months. It might be changing your workout routine every 3 months. For me, it was changing my marketing strategy for my business. I went back and looked at the data and I was like, man, for Q1, I did this. For Q2, I did this. For Q3 and Q4, I did this. They all worked pretty well, but not good enough to where I was like, oh, this is good enough. Let me stick with this. And I think if I had just stuck with one, I'd be so much further along. Same as, if you just stuck with your workout routine, if you just stuck with your nutrition plan, if you just stuck with anything that you're trying to do, you're going to get the compounding effects of it. And I think that's a big lesson for me in just being able to look at the data, detach the emotion of like, oh, I feel like things aren't going well. And it's like, what does the data say? What does the data say? What does the data say? Let's make decisions based on the data and logic, not emotion. It's really hard to do, but if you want to ascend in your health and fitness journey, in your financial journey, in your relationships, a little bit harder. That's not as measurable, but it's like if you want to ascend in number-based areas, just look at the data. Look at the data. Look at the data. Look at the data. Number four, I had a really big reflection moment. This was actually this month. We went on a client event, and it was like Comic-Con, super fun in Columbus. We met up with a bunch of clients in that area, and whatever we wanted to eat, drank every single night. And typically I don't drink a ton, but when I get in these events of like, you know, on vacation or a birthday, or there's kind of these things where I'm like, oh, it's okay. I can let loose. I can let go. And what it led to was flew back, got back late on a Monday night. It would have been Sunday night, Monday morning at 1 a.m. Came home, was going to, start the work week Monday because I missed, 2-3 days and my son was sick. So I'm like, oh man, I hope I don't get sick. Sure as shit, got sick. So sick that for 3 days I had a fever, didn't leave our bonus room, didn't really feel 100% for 7 or 8 days, didn't work out for like 10 days, didn't get back to like my regular routine for almost 2 weeks. And mind you, I came home, my son was sick. My pregnant wife was also sick. And here I am stuck on the couch, sweating. And then I'd have the chills, unable to really do anything. And I just kind of had this moment where I was like, man, I can't control that traveling decreases my immune system. It does. It's added stress. I'm around a bunch of people. I was at a convention. God knows what all those people had, going on just from a flu standpoint. But what I do know is that alcohol especially disrupts sleep, decreases the immune system, and it almost works like an energy shield. It's like if you're playing a Halo, your energy shield comes down, you're more susceptible to just like those random needlers that take you out. And maybe I would have not gotten as sick. Maybe I still would have. I don't know. But I know 100% that after days, nights, weekends of drinking, I have more self-doubt, more depressed. I crave junk food, pornography, just I become this version of myself that I don't like. My energy is super low. And for like 2-3 days, I'm operating at like 50%. And so like that happens no matter what. But then this specific moment where I was like, man, I'm not able to be there for my wife. I'm not able to be there for my son because I'm so sick. And so where I'm getting with all this is just honestly, like, I don't know where alcohol fits in my life, especially when I want to have energy for this toddler and we're going to have another one. It's just not worth it being tired. And that's like the low end of the repercussions. Yeah, it feels good to have like an old fashioned or a glass of wine. And it's this story of like, oh, it's the holidays. I need an old fashioned with a Santa hat on it or whatever. But then it's like, man, I'm tired the next day. It impacts my energy from a business standpoint. Like I already have had a rule for probably the last year. I don't drink if I know I have a sales consulting call the day before because I'm just not going to be as mentally sharp. But now it's to a point where it's just like, man, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And I know I got my brother's wedding in Mexico in February. And that's like the next time where I'll really have to put this to the test. And I'm not coming out and saying like, I'm never drinking again. We've all done that. But man, like really like just again, being sick and not being able to be there for my family really hit me as this like, man, like I can't put myself in that position. I can't put myself in the position to where I'm buzzed and maybe my 4-year-old needs me to pick him up from getting, injured at the playground. Like there's so many things that from my standpoint, I really value making sure that I'm sharp. I've got energy. I'm able to be there for them as kind of this like protector, sentinel type energy. I'm just not able to do that with alcohol. So that's number 4. Number 5, phone usage. Just being a dopamine addicted lab rat, where that probably contributed to the Pokemon cards. That probably contributes to, making it easier to just go and snack. It's like, give me that quick dopamine. That probably is linked to, wanting that drink and wanting that hit. I don't know, but I do know that the phone and the addictive tendencies of it and just the time suck and getting stuck in this loop of like short-term dopamine, it's such a killer on productivity. It's something that when I look at it, I'm like, man, I could be on my phone or I could be on my hands and knees, building blocks with Rafe. I should be on my hands and knees building blocks with Rafe. And what's really hard is so much of like my business, interacting with clients, interacting with prospects is Instagram. So there's a few things that I'm really looking at doing. One, I downloaded the app Opal. I'm going to share a screen here so that y'all can see what I'm talking about. It's an app that, it's just a productivity app, and it blocks it. You can block content, and you can block certain apps only for certain times. But let me see if my computer's catching up. Boom, boom, boom. All right, we got crazy wind over in I don't know if this is going anymore. Boom. Okay. So looks like I lost like a minute 15. So I'm going to go back to sharing screen if my internet will catch up. We got crazy wind where I'm at up in the mountains. And so that is why that's going on. But anyway, Opal productivity app basically blocks screen time so that I can get some of that time back. And so that's something that I'm instituting there. But it's also just saying, okay, if I want to be on my phone less and I want to construct a lifestyle that is less phone required, less social media required, that means that I've got to do other things to still, create content. And so that's where YouTube Live is great, because it is me talking to this. I don't have to be in my phone. It's going to post to YouTube. I'm not going to just like randomly scroll. So that's an example of, okay, I still want a certain result. I'm going to change my strategy so that I can block this specific thing, or at least not utilize it as much and be less reliant on it. And so then I'll use more email marketing and more YouTube. So that's, an intentional shift in strategy, knowing that this other thing, Instagram, just phone usage in general, is a huge time suck, which then gives me more time to be able to focus on reading more, to be able to spend time with family, to get in workouts. And I would bet anyone watching this, if you looked at your phone usage, there's a lot of time that if you cut out, you could go and do things that are more meaningful for you. So those are the 5 mistakes that I made. And what I want to do last is just go through this exercise, because this was something that I found really valuable and a lot of clients found really valuable. It's ChatGPT prompt. And so what you want to do is just ask yourself, what 5 character traits do I want to develop, or do I need to develop to make those a reality? Those specifically is like the goal that you have for the year. And so the prompt for me and for a lot of people is, I want to improve the character traits of, and I'll just copy this one. But what's really cool is ChatGPT takes this. Oops, I meant to be sharing. There you go. ChatGPT takes this and gives you a symbol for how you can visualize what this version of yourself looks like. It gives you examples of mantras. It gives you examples of how this shows up like tangibly in different activities that you would do. So this is the one that I put in. So it comes up with the Sentinel. Sentinel is someone who stands watch. They don't rush emotionally. They don't drift. They don't quit their post. The intentionality, right, is not acting on impulses. If I want to improve my impulse control, that means less Pokemon cards. That means less random beers. That means less social media. That means not changing business strategies for the shiny object syndrome. discipline, following through with what I said I was going to do, as opposed to mood. Fortitude, holding position under pressure. Action, taking action as opposed to procrastinating. Focus, eyes forward, no distraction. When you think of a sentinel, right, you can picture the the soldiers in London who like stand guard. They probably do this in other countries, but they stand guard and people will take pictures with them, and no matter what, they do not move, right? And that's that like unwavering focus on whatever it is the task is at hand. And so then you've got these mantras. I act when it's the time. I do the task in front of me. I finish what I start. I don't negotiate with distractions. The symbol could be a tower, a single light, standing firm. And so what you can utilize this for, it gives you alternative. So like the Pathfinder is one, but you can basically just take, hey, play off of this idea here of I finish what I start. And you can just go through this process and really tailor this version of yourself into something that resonates from a mantra standpoint, from a symbol standpoint, a one-liner statement. And I went through and did this with myself and found it really helpful in really getting clear on like, what are the values that I have? And when you get clear on the values that you have, that's where you can really start to shift how you want to show up. Values underlie behavior, habits, actions, results. And there's a quote that I pulled when pulling this together for clients: character is fate. And so if you look at your character, if you extrapolate that out like an algorithm, your fate, the results you get, is just a result of your character. And so what I would do as you go through that prompt, and what I did, is I wrote down what felt aligned. I wrote down, kind of deleted or ignored what didn't. I just got really honest with myself. Where did I fall short of, being intentional, of being disciplined? I went and looked at metrics that would be a result of that. Time spent on my phone, bank accounts, investment accounts, my weight, body composition. Like, look at data and get really honest with yourself. And this, again, what I did to be able to be like, man, it's not where I want it to be. And it's no one else's fault but my own. And these are the 5 mistakes that I made that kind of reflect why that is the case. Then the last thing that I would do, and thing that I've done, I wrote down, I am the long watch, the sentinel. And it's something that I remind myself when I'm just kind of going throughout the day. If I am the sentinel, if I am the long watch, right, how do I make sure that I am sober of mind? I am being disciplined. I am being intentional. I am being patient. I am being, responsive. And so coming up with a mantra like that for yourself can be the thing that you repeat to yourself that speaks to who you are as a person. Because if we just go with the default identities that we're given, or the default beliefs that we're given, 90% of them are trash, which is why 90% of people struggle with their health and fitness. They struggle with their finances. They struggle with their relationships. It's old programming and beliefs that they've picked up from society, from family members, from, school or whatever. And then that ends up being their fate, because that is what is rooted in the character. And so for me, just to recap, getting really clear on how I want to show up and my values, if I've got those really clear and defined, I won't live as much by default. I can get clear on what these mistakes are and how to fix them. And I'm really excited, because looking back at some of these too, it's like, man, I've done these before. Like the Pokemon cards in 2021, the version of that was action figures. I got a bunch of Black Series action figures. Some are signed, some are cool. I'll definitely have Rafe play with them. But I was like, man, that was just like a distraction for a 6-month period. And now I've got a bunch sitting in my closet that are cool. Took a bunch of pictures and did some action figure photography with them. But I would much rather have a few $1,000s if someone would trade me, but I'm not going to get that for them. They're opened and, used, and it's not a hot market. So it's like, man, I've made these mistakes now multiple times. Shame on me for not learning from them the first time. But, my hope for, you and my plan, at least this year, is to say, man, stop making those mistakes, because learning is not just taking the knowledge, but changing behavior. So plan in 2026 is to actually learn and have different inputs. And I wish that for you as well. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking through the delay. Hopefully this isn't an issue when it actually goes live on YouTube, but who knows? We'll be making more YouTube videos in 2026. Thanks for watching. And if anyone has any content they would like to see, or if this resonates, just drop a comment down below. I'll catch you guys in the next video.